Number 22. Raising kids in the Czech Republic is almost free. In recent decades, birth rates in developed countries have dropped sharply, and the main reason isn't that people don't want kids, but that they simply can't afford to raise them. According to OECD and Eurostat data, the birth rate in the US has fallen to about 1.66 children per woman, and the European Union is at 1.5, far below the 2.1 needed to maintain the population. In the US, the average cost of giving birth can range from $10,000 to over $30,000, not to mention the costs of raising a child, healthcare, daycare, and early education. Against this backdrop, the Czech Republic stands out as a very different case. Here, raising a child in the early years hardly puts any financial strain on families, not because the costs are magically low, but because the government actively covers the essentials. When either parent has long-term or permanent legal residency, children are included in the National Health Insurance Plan. This means regular checkups, vaccinations, treatments, and emergency care for kids are almost 100% covered. Along with health care, the Czech Republic offers child-rearing benefits for up to 4 years, totaling about $13,000. That's no small amount. And don't forget, the cost of living here isn't expensive either. If you want more details, stay tuned for point year 1. If you budget wisely, this allowance is enough to cover basic needs like diapers, formula, clothes, and other essentials. Of course, if you want premium formula, imported toys, or to travel, you'll need to pay for those yourself. As kids get older, costs still stay low. Public preschools charge only symbolic fees, and in many places, kids ages 4 to 5 attend for free. School lunches are heavily subsidized, so parents usually pay less than $50 a month. Textbooks and basic curriculum are provided by the state. Czech kids aren't caught up in the race for extra tutoring or chasing grades from elementary school onward. On top of all that, the Czech approach to parenting is very different. Czech kids are encouraged to be independent from a young age, sleeping in their own crib just days after birth, learning to fall asleep on their own by 6-8 months, feeding themselves in a style similar to baby-led weaning, and being given simple chores as soon as they can understand. Spilled food or dirty clothes are seen as part of learning. When it comes to discipline, violence is strictly forbidden. Instead, parents use a timeout of 5 to 10 minutes to let the child calm down, and then talk and explain things. Discipline here means helping kids learn self-control, not punishing them out of anger. Public education remains tuition-free all the way through university if you study in Czech. Students also get health insurance, affordable dorms, and deep discounts on public transportation. Czech students don't graduate with tens of thousands of dollars in student debt like in the US. And when they start working, they still have a safety net, unemployment insurance, housing support if their income is low, and labor laws that protect work hours and vacation time. Do you think the child-rearing and welfare model in the Czech Republic would work in today's society? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 21. The magical heart of Europe. The Czech Republic, also called Czechia, is a small but fascinating country right in the center of Europe, surrounded by Germany, Austria, Slovakia, and Poland. Though it covers only about 30,500 square miles, roughly the size of South Carolina, Czechia's nature is incredibly diverse. You can drive just a few hours and see dramatic contrasts. From the rugged Bohemian highlands, misty valleys, to the snowy Sudetes Mountains, a favorite spot for European skiers. The climate is mild with 4 distinct seasons. Interestingly, even in winter when it's 14 degrees, people in Prague still enjoy a beer outdoors as if nothing could stop them from living life to the fullest. The Czech flag features traditional white and red with a blue triangle, representing the 3 historic lands, Bohemia, Moravia, and Silesia. The country is so culturally diverse that people say, traveling 100 miles in Czechia is like passing through 3 small countries. The main language, Czech, sounds similar to Polish, but is softer, though it's considered one of the world's hardest languages. Thanks to its popularity as a tourist destination, English is fairly common in big cities like Prague, especially among young people. The population is about 10.7 million, mostly ethnic Czechs, but surprisingly, there are around 600,000 foreigners, mainly from Ukraine, Slovakia, Russia, and even the US. Drawn by the old world charm, low cost of living, and peaceful lifestyle. Number 20. Women pay to date men. Czech women have long been known as some of the most beautiful in Eastern Europe. A blend of Slavic gentleness and Western European modernity, they often have naturally fair skin, slim figures, and a sophisticated but understated sense of style, making their beauty shine from confidence rather than heavy makeup. But what makes them even more attractive is their independent and decisive attitude. In relationships, it's not unusual for Czech women to make the first move, invite someone for coffee, and, according to statistics, up to 50% of women pay their own way on dates, even when their date is a foreigner. Yes, you heard that right. In Czechia, dating doesn't come with financial obligations. There's no idea that men must pay, or women just need to look pretty at home. That's why many modern Czech families have the exact opposite arrangement. The wife works full-time and is the main breadwinner, while the husband takes paternity leave and cares for the kids, something many countries are still hesitant to accept. Still, on a first date, Czech men are polite and courteous. They usually offer to pay, not out of obligation, but as a gesture of manners. What impresses them most, though, is when a woman offers to split the bill. What do you think about these women? Pretty gallant, right? They make great wives, too. If you want to know more about their strengths or get some tips on winning their hearts, comment with the number 5. Or if you want to speed things up, join their speed dating events in the next fact we'll share. Number 19. Speed dating fairs for Czech women and foreign men. How would you feel if your first date didn't start with a long text, but with a little bell signaling, switch seats every 5 minutes? In big cities like Prague and Brno, speed dating events are held regularly. Many are designed specifically for foreigners living, studying, or working in Czechia, and are conducted in English, no language barriers. One standout company is Randa Modal, operating since 2009 and considered a pioneer of speed dating in Czechia. They host cozy meetups, usually in cafes or lounges, making it easy for both locals and foreigners to start a conversation. If you prefer a more relaxed vibe, Singlovej offers weekend brunches, city tours, or wine tastings. There's also Seznamovitý Večer Žákovi, which organizes themed dates from book lovers to language lovers, perfect for practicing English, learning about Czech culture, and meeting open-minded singles from all over. Interestingly, Czech women tend to be proactive and confident at these events, while foreign men are encouraged to be genuine, easygoing, and funny. What do you think about these dating fairs? Do you believe you could find a wife there if you got lucky? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 18. The Czech Republic's Bizarre Church. If you're used to Prague's peaceful old castles and churches, there's a totally different spot in Czechia that will instantly change your mood. Sedlec Ossuary, better known as the Bone Church. It's in Kutná Hora, about 43 miles east of Prague. The church's origins go back to the 13th century. In 1278, the abbot of Sedlec returned from Jerusalem with a handful of soil from Golgotha, the Holy Land, and sprinkled it over the local cemetery. Sedlec Cemetery became a highly sought-after burial site. After the Black Death in the 14th century and the Hussite Wars in the 15th, the number of burials skyrocketed, leading to overcrowding. The bones were moved to the church basement to save space. In 1870, the Schwarzenberg family bought the church and hired František Rindt to arrange the bones. Instead of just storing them, Rindt cleaned, bleached, and used the bones to create decorations, turning the basement into a unique art space. Since then, Sedlec has become widely known. Official estimates say about 40,000–70,000 skeletons were used here. The bones are arranged as columns, arches, ceiling motifs, and religious symbols. The highlight is a central chandelier made from every type of human bone: skulls, ribs, limbs. There's also the Schwarzenberg family crest made entirely of bones, plus crosses and other small details. The church's exterior is plain, but inside, the sight of real human bones everywhere is intense for many visitors. Today, Sedlec Ossuary is one of Czechia's most famous attractions, drawing over 200,000 visitors a year, and that number keeps rising. Number 17. Two opposite worlds in one small country. Just like the cultural rivalry between New York and Los Angeles, or Moscow and St. Petersburg, the Czech Republic has its own strange divide. Czechia is split into two main regions, Bohemia in the west, home to Prague, and Moravia in the east, with Brno as its cultural center. Bohemia stands out for political power, economics, and academic heritage, while Moravia is friendlier, rich in folk traditions, and has a slower pace of life. Bohemians are often seen as reserved and practical, while Moravians are warm, love wine and music, and will happily invite you to a folk party. If Bohemia lives to work, Moravia works to live. The differences show in architecture, too. Prague, the architectural gem of Europe, boasts Baroque, Gothic buildings, old castles, and bridges that look like paintings. In contrast, Brno has a quiet charm, small streets, old wooden houses, and squares full of cafes and live music on weekends. In Prague, you feel like a tourist. In Brno, you're treated like family. Even though they both speak Czech, the Moravian dialect is softer and more musical, while Prague's accent is clear and standard, like BBC English. Despite differences in lifestyle, thinking, and culture, Bohemia and Moravia are inseparable halves of the Czech Republic. Number 16. Doing nothing. A lifestyle encouraged in Czechia. Imagine walking through Letná Park in Prague. On a wooden bench, an old man sits for 3 hours. No phone, no book, no headphones, no dog, no grandkids. Just sitting, watching the leaves fall and people pass by. In the US, someone might ask, "Are you okay?" or suspect loneliness or mental health issues. But in Czechia, this is totally normal, even seen as positive. For Czechs, sitting and doing nothing isn't laziness. It's a proper way to live. They see it as time for calm and clarity, a state where you're not producing, not consuming, not responding to notifications. In Prague, no one is surprised to see someone sitting alone for hours in a park, and no one feels the need to intrude on someone else's private life. According to 2022 Eurostat data, about 67% of Czechs say they spend at least 1-2 hours a day doing nothing, not working, not on digital entertainment, just sitting, observing, or being quiet. Czechs call this spokojenost, a feeling of inner contentment and peace. This goes against the busy means successful mindset so common in the US, where adults are expected to always be doing something. The Czech government even designs and preserves quiet zones in cities, parks with little noise, scattered benches, limited traffic, and discouragement of loud activities. The goal? To create spaces where people don't have to do anything at all. Many Czech psychologists believe this habit helps the country have lower rates of depression and burnout than the European average, even though incomes aren't the highest in the region. Number 15. Festivals just for women. In Czechia, there are festivals where women aren't just participants, they're the center of the whole ritual. From an outsider's perspective, you might be surprised or even laugh. The most famous is Easter, when women actually look forward to being gently whipped with soft willow branches and splashed with cold water. Sounds strange, but for Czechs, it's a ritual to wish health, youth, and vitality for the year. The more visitors a girl gets, the luckier and more loved she's considered. Afterwards, there's no resentment. Everyone laughs, and women serve homemade plum brandy or decorated Easter eggs. Soon after, May 1st brings a more gentle but symbolic moment. Across Prague and small towns, couples seek out blooming cherry trees to share a kiss. For women, this ritual is believed to bring beauty, love, and happiness for the year. No stage, no loud music, just a kiss under the blossoms. But the whole country knows it's a special wish for women. Go back to February and you'll find Mesopust, one of the most fun folk festivals. In rural areas, young women wear traditional costumes and carry flower wreaths around the village to ask for love. They visit elders, receiving blessings for marriage, children, and happiness in the new year. Getting a wreath means a good chance of finding love that year. The whole village dresses up, dances, eats, and drinks from morning to night. A festival where women are both the symbol of spring and the community's hope for the future. Number 14. The Dancing House. In the heart of Prague, where red-tiled roofs and Gothic spires create an open-air museum, the Dancing House stands out like a musical note out of tune, which is exactly why it's famous. Finished in 1996, this 9-story building by the Vltava River was designed by Czech architect Vlado Milanič and American architect Frank Gehry. Its twisting shapes remind many of two dancers, so it's also known as Fred and Ginger. When it first appeared, Prague's public was outraged. Local newspapers called it a warped concrete block, an eyesore, and it even made lists of the world's ugliest buildings in the late 1990s and early 2000s, mainly for not fitting the historic landscape. Imagine, in a city famous for symmetry and classic beauty, suddenly there's a building that looks like it's swaying and moving. No wonder people reacted strongly. But time changed everything. As Prague entered the post-Cold War era, the Dancing House came to symbolize the city's transformation from a place frozen in history to one willing to experiment and open up to the world. Frank Gehry, who later designed the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, helped turn what was once called ugly into a global icon of avant-garde architecture. Today, the Dancing House appears in almost every Prague travel guide, attracting hundreds of thousands of visitors every year, many just to take photos from across the street or to enjoy the rooftop bar and restaurant with views of the Vltava River. The irony, those awkward curves are now exactly what draws people in, curious to see if it's really that ugly or beautiful in its own way. Number 13. The adults-only city. What no one advertises, but everyone knows. Throughout the 2010s, when people thought of Prague, they pictured the old clock tower, Charles Bridge, or 100-year-old beer halls. But at the same time, the city quietly held another title, the largest adult content production center in Europe. While it's never officially advertised, industry stats show Prague records over 10,000 videos shot each year, mostly exported to Western Europe and North America. At one point, Wikipedia even called Prague the adult entertainment capital of Europe, with one of the highest per capita rates of professional actors on the continent. Compared to Western Europe, production costs in Czechia are much lower, from renting locations and hiring staff to post-production. The law allows these businesses, if they're registered and pay taxes, with little censorship. Prague already has the film infrastructure, crews experienced in mainstream cinema, and a young workforce fluent in multiple languages. For Western companies, it's an efficient destination, not a cultural symbol. Ironically, the opposition doesn't come from the government, but from the people. Many Czechs see calling Prague the adult capital as reducing its identity. They don't want the city of Antonín Dvořák, Franz Kafka, Gothic architecture, and Moravian folk art to be remembered only for quick consumption content. For them, visitors should talk about St. Vitus Cathedral, Old Town, or museums, not curiosity tours. So Prague's authorities take a very Czech approach, not banning, but not promoting either. The industry is legal on paper, but almost invisible in public spaces. At historic sites, all sensitive advertising is banned. No posters, no public tour desks. These services mostly exist through discreet referrals from taxi drivers, bar staff, or hotel concierge. Besides films, a gray ecosystem operates, high-end saunas costing $90 to $125 per visit, conference companion services at 5-star hotels for several $100s an hour, or private cosplay clubs open only to members. No loud signs, no big ads, but enough to attract a curious crowd, especially from the UK, Germany, and the US. Number 12. The world's first real money rain. If you're reading this and thinking, who would ever drop real money from the sky? Think again. What seems like a Hollywood movie actually happened in a small Czech town. This one-of-a-kind event was the brainchild of Czech internet star Kamil Bartošek, known as Kazma. He pulled off the world's first real money rain, as he proudly called it, by dropping $1 million from a helicopter over a field in Lisa nad Labem. Originally, the money was a prize for anyone who could crack a code on his show, One Man Show. When no one succeeded, Kazma decided to drop the whole sum for anyone fast, curious, and willing to run under the sky to grab it. Yes, you heard that right. About 4,000 people gathered in the field, waiting for the helicopter. When the doors opened, 1M bills started fluttering down, Each bill had a QR code linking to a charity platform. So besides grabbing cash, participants could also log in to donate or spread positive messages. The money rain lasted less than an hour but quickly went viral on social media, racking up millions of views. What would you have done if you were there? Grabbed cash or pulled out your phone to film TikTok first? Share your answer in the comments. Number 11. Free coffee for good deeds. With coffee prices in Europe rising, a cup in the city center often costs $3 But in Brno, the Czech Republic's second-largest city, there was once a coffee stand that made both locals and tourists stop and stare. Free coffee in exchange for a good deed. On a wooden sign in front of the mobile coffee stand, it read, "Don't pay money, pay with a good deed." That means you don't pay, swipe your card, download an app, or fill out any forms. The only thing required is that you do something kind. The suggested list is simple. Help a stranger carry something heavy, donate a few bucks to a street performer, give directions to a tourist, help translate for a foreigner, or just say something nice to someone. After you do it, come back, briefly share what you did, and get a hot cup of coffee. The owner once said, "A cup of coffee isn't expensive, but this movement inspired many people to do more good." Instead of paying, customers are asked to do something helpful for others. Organizers say that on a busy day, they serve about 50-80 cups, meaning 50-80 acts of kindness in a few hours. Most participants are students, office workers, and tourists. Foreigners are welcome. No registration or paperwork needed. Number 10. The cell phone throwing contest. When you hear cell phone throwing contest, you might think it's a weird Czech tradition, but the truth is more complicated. The contest is 100% real, but it actually started in Finland in 2000, called the Mobile Phone Throwing World Championship. Contestants compete to throw a phone the farthest, with the best style, or in the most creative way, a very Nordic way to blow off steam before the smartphone era. The phones are always supplied by organizers. No one has to throw their own iPhone or Samsung, or no one would sign up. So what does Czechia have to do with it? There's no national championship, no fixed annual schedule, and it's not an old tradition. But over the years, Czechia has hosted many phone-throwing events as part of street festivals, community days, or marketing events, where people can try throwing fake or old phones provided by organizers. These events are free, and the prizes are mostly symbolic. A beer, a t-shirt, or a round of applause. Very much in the laid-back, slightly carefree Czech spirit. At these contests, there's no stress, no fierce competition, no pressure to win. A throw of about 100-130 feet is enough to wow the crowd, even if no one's breaking records. Foreigners are welcome to join in, and tourists are even encouraged to participate for fun, as long as safety rules are followed. Number 9. Czechs love astronomy. Have you ever stood in front of a clock that can track the sun's position, the moon's phases, and all 12 zodiac signs at once? If not, come to Prague. Right in Old Town Square, the Orloj astronomical clock, over 600 years old, is not only Prague's most famous check-in spot, but also the oldest working astronomical clock in the world. With its huge gears, multi-layered face, and moving figures every hour, Orloj doesn't just show the time, it recreates the universe on a stone dial. When the bell rings, you'll see Death holding an hourglass, keeping time, as the apostles appear, reminding everyone of the fleeting nature of life and the universe. But Orloj isn't the only story. Czechs love astronomy like Americans love baseball. From observatories open at night for free, to rural star clubs, to the legendary cosmonaut Vladimir Remek, the first non-US or Soviet astronaut in space. In Czechia, from kids to seniors, everyone can name the planets in order, and telescopes can even be found on school soccer fields. Number 8. Czech women can now use the same last names as men. In Czechia, a small change in last names can spark a big debate. For hundreds of years, Czech women were required to have last names ending in ova to show gender. If the father's last name is Novak, the daughter would be Novakova. If the husband is Dvořák, the wife would be Dvořáková. Sound familiar? But imagine this. Working internationally, signing contracts, booking flights, Your last name is always different from your husband's or son's just because of one suffix. Because of these hassles, the Czech parliament passed a major change. Women can now choose. They can keep the ova tradition or use the same last name as men. The June Sejm vote was clear. 91 in favor, 33 against. About 3/4 of parliament agreed. The change was proposed by Helena Valkova, former Minister of Justice. She argued that forcing women to use a gender suffix is unnecessary inequality in modern society. This argument is even stronger when you look at Slovakia, once part of the same country as Czechia, where women have been able to drop the suffix for years. A Prague survey found that 28% of women want to use the male form of their last name. That shows the demand is real. It's not just a trend. Of course, not everyone agrees. Many linguists argue that the gender suffix is a core part of Czech grammar, and dropping it will cause confusion in writing and administration. But from a practical standpoint, many counter that language should serve people, not restrict them. Internationally, names like Petra Kvitova are often used without ova, and the world still understands and gets it right. Number 7. Life in the world's most beautiful city. Named the world's most beautiful city by Time Out magazine in 2021. So what makes this city so special? Prague is called the City of 100 Spires and the Golden City, with over 500 bell towers and centuries-old buildings, many over 600 years old, preserved almost perfectly, thanks to escaping destruction in World War II. Old Town, Stare Město, the 14th century Charles Bridge, Wenceslas Square, and Prague Castle, the world's largest castle complex according to Guinness, all create a fairy tale-like atmosphere with modern comforts. Prague residents are known for their elegant, simple, and content lifestyle. You'll see it in how they enjoy morning coffee in old squares, stroll through Letná Park at sunset, or bike along the winding Vltava River. According to Numbeo's 2023 Quality of Life Index, Prague scores high for safety, clean air, affordable living, and efficient public transport, making it one of Europe's top 20 most livable cities. Although only 18.7% of people are religious, Czech Statistical Office census, Prague still strongly preserves traditional cultural values. Festivals like Christmas, Easter, the Signal Festival of Lights, or weekend farmers markets aren't just for fun. They're ways to bond the community. These old-fashioned values remain strong amid urban life, rare in other modern capitals. Life in Prague isn't rushed. Streetcars are still the main transport, people carry fresh bread from corner bakeries, and public spaces are filled with street performers. Number 6. Czechs love nature more than city life. Even though over 73% of Czechs live in urban areas, that doesn't mean they're attached to city life. In fact, for many, the city is just where they work during the week. Their real life begins when they leave the city. Almost every family owns, or has relatives who own, a small house in the countryside or woods called a chata or chalupa. On Friday afternoons, you'll see streams of cars leaving Prague, Brno, or Ostrava, heading for forests, hills, and villages. Weekends at the chata don't need fancy plans. Camping, hiking, biking, chopping wood, or just sitting quietly among the pines. A big part of this lifestyle is mushroom picking. According to the Prague Institute of Sociology, over 70% of Czechs go mushroom picking at least once a year. It's not just for the elderly, it's a family activity. Kids learn to identify mushrooms early, and adults treat the forest as a free supermarket. Every fall, Czech forests are as crowded as city centers. Their love of nature also shows in dog ownership. With over 2 million dogs and a population of about 10.5 million, Czechia has one of the highest dog ownership rates in Europe. City parks always have dog areas, and Prague's subway lets dogs ride with their owners, as long as they're muzzled and have a ticket. Seeing someone walking a dog and reading a book on the train is totally normal. Czechia also has a network of over 24,000 miles of marked and well-maintained hiking and biking trails. That's especially impressive given the country is about the size of South Carolina. You can hike through forests, villages, and hills almost without needing a digital map. Number 5. The Land of Love. Do you believe a tiny padlock can lock in love forever? In Czechia, many people do, and they've hung thousands of them on historic bridges across the country. In Prague, the most famous love bridge is by the Čertovka Canal in the Malá Strana neighborhood. According to Prague Morning, over 1,200 new locks are added each year, not just by locals, but also by tourists from Germany, Italy, France, and even the US. An American couple once shared on Rick Steves' Europe. "We honeymooned in Prague, and that lock was the most meaningful promise we ever made." It's not just in Prague. Český Krumlov, a UNESCO World Heritage town, has a small wooden bridge over the Vltava River, where love locks are a must for couples. For something quieter, visit Olomouc, with its love garden and curved bridges hidden under the trees. Number 4. Patriotism, a defining trait of Czechs. Czechs might not carry the flag to every event or sing the national anthem in crowds like at an American football game, but their patriotism is clear in everyday actions, steady, simple, and full of pride. According to a CVVM, Czech Public Opinion Research Institute survey, over 71% of Czechs say they prioritize buying local products, even if they cost a bit more. The national Co-op supermarket chain and small stores labeled Český výrobek, Czech product, always get special trust. While many Europeans flock to the Mediterranean every summer, Czechs bike through Moravian hills, paddle down the Lužnic River, or camp by Lake Lipno. According to the Ministry of Regional Development, over 62% of people chose domestic travel in 2023, even though Austria, Germany, or Croatia are just a few hours away. National pride is also tied to culture and language. Czechs may not warm up quickly, but if you know the novel The Good Soldier Schweik, mention an old movie like Closely Watched Trains, or simply pronounce the legendary Czech ž sound correctly, you'll earn respect. Many elementary schools still hold days for wearing folk costumes or reenacting historic events like Independence Day, with short plays by students. In rural areas, the Czech flag is flown outside homes on major holidays, or even just on regular days. Number 3. Beer is an essential part of Czech society. If you thought Germans were the beer masters, you've never been to Czechia. Here, you can order a cold draft beer for less than $2, while bottled water sometimes costs more. Yes, beer is cheaper than water. It's not just a joke. With an average consumption of about 37 gallons per person per year, nearly 412 Oz cans, Czechs are officially the world's biggest beer drinkers, way ahead of Germany and the US. Around 90% of men and 50% of women here say they drink beer regularly. Almost every Czech town has its own brewery, with recipes passed down through generations. You'll easily find traditional beer halls called hospoda. Even business meetings often start with beer. And in many families, a son's first beer is a coming-of-age ritual. Czechia is also home to Pilsner Urquell, the world's first pale lager. There's also Budweiser Budvar, a brand that sparked trademark disputes between the US and Europe for decades. Beer even enters the wellness world. Beer spas where people soak in purified beer, claiming it's good for the skin. Curious yet? If you visit in May, don't miss the Czech Beer Festival in Prague. Over 2 weeks of hundreds of beers served in wooden mugs, folk music, and an atmosphere as lively as an Eastern European Oktoberfest. Number 2. A tourist paradise. Czechia is like a living fairy tale, where every city, castle, and hill tells a centuries-old story. Not far from Prague is Prague Castle, listed by Guinness as the world's largest castle complex, covering over 750,000 square feet, about 13 NFL football fields. There's also the world's oldest working astronomical clock, Horloge, in Old Town Square, drawing millions of visitors each year to marvel at medieval astronomy in action. If you love peace and unspoiled beauty, visit Český Krumlov, a small town along a winding river, recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Site. Imagine a mini Santorini, but with red roofs and Gothic towers instead of blue and white. That's Český Krumlov. Here, you can kayak, watch performances at the only revolving outdoor theater left in Europe, or just sip coffee while the clock tower chimes. If wellness is your thing, check out Karlovy Vary, a spa town famous for more than 12 natural hot springs, once visited by kings, Goethe, and Beethoven. Wine lovers will enjoy South Moravia, with its long rows of vineyards and lively fall wine festivals, rivaling even Napa Valley. Number 1. Cost of living in the Czech Republic. Living in the Czech Republic can be an incredibly attractive option if you're looking for a place with reasonable living costs but a high quality of life, especially compared to big cities in the US or Western Europe. Rent varies by area, but it's still much lower than in major US cities. A one-bedroom apartment in downtown Prague costs about $700–900 a month, while in smaller cities like Brno or Ostrava, you'll pay around $400–600. For food, if you cook at home, you'll spend about $250–350 a month per person, including meat, veggies, bread, and even beer, a national staple here. You can get a large draft beer for less than $2, sometimes even cheaper than bottled water at restaurants. Eating out is also easy on your wallet. A meal at a casual restaurant usually costs $8–12, and even upscale places rarely go over $25–30 per person, unless you're dining French style in a 5-star Prague hotel. Utilities, electricity, water, heating, internet, for an average apartment usually run about $150–200 a month. High-speed internet can be installed for just $20.30 a month. All in all, to live comfortably in Czechia, a single adult needs about $900 or $200 a month. For Americans used to sky-high costs, this is a bargain, a chance to enjoy a life that's both historic and modern in the heart of Europe. With these costs, do you think the Czech Republic is a place you'd visit or even move to? If yes, comment 8. If not, comment 10. We'll share some tips for saving money in Czechia. If you're truly interested in the country and want to visit, comment 5. We'll share info on visas, permits, and other requirements to get to the Czech Republic. We've just explored the beautiful land of the Czech Republic together. Thank you for watching today's travel documentary until the end. We hope you'll continue to join us on our next journeys to discover the wonders of the world.